All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Melbourne Independent Filmmakers Festival podcast. I've got another special guest today, a local filmmaker who has, I believe, gotten a film into our festival every single year. That would be 24 years running, and I know she submitted this year as well. So let me go ahead and introduce Sue Dontell.
Hi, Erik.
Here she is. Hey, Sue. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
So, 24 years. We're going to get to that a little bit later about how you've gotten one in every year. But why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your early days here at the film festival? Maybe what was your first film and what was the festival like back then?
Well, the festival was just getting started back then. My first film was Stranger Next to Me. And I also acted in a film by Tom Mumm, who put in his first film, Action 13.
Okay.
And we were at the Henniger Center and we were doing VHS tapes at the time. Then we went to DVDs and now finally to digital.
And for those who don't know, the Henniger Center is a reconstructed old school that houses a playhouse, and they have a screen. And for a few years there, we did have the festival at that location to get things started, which wasn't a bad place.
No, it was good.
Yeah. Um, so what got you into making films? Why do you do it?
Well, I wanted to make films. Well, I wanted to be an actor since I was like 5 years old. So back in the 90s, before Runaway Film came to be, we had a lot of film going on here in Brevard County. So I did a lot of extra work and took a lot of classes. Eventually went over to Lisa Maley and got my degree in acting over there. And then I started acting in small little productions. And then I decided that I wanted to make my own films. And one thing led to another. Now I'm in front of the camera and behind the camera. I've made, I think, just over 30 short films and one feature independent film.
And what do you like better, in front or behind the camera?
Actually, they both have their advantages. I like both because I'm very creative. I like to write, and I love to hate editing because I'll sit here for hours editing. But I'm kind of a control freak. I like to like to get my finger in everything.
Sure. Yeah. So you've been to other festivals. How would you compare or contrast the Melbourne Film Festival with some of the others that you've gone to? And I don't mean you to badmouth other film
No,
festivals. Just
no,
give me the
no.
differences.
Well, let me just say MIFF is the best. I mean, because we're in a real movie theater on a big screen, and some of the other festivals aren't as advanced as this.
Can you be a little more specific? What do you mean by that? Not as advanced.
Well, their projection isn't as advanced as the MIFF.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of the places are a lot smaller. Some of them are not in real studios, I mean, real theaters.
Hmm. Yeah. And you actually donate your red carpet to the festival, don't you?
I did for many, many years, and then finally Tom took over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, so you have a red carpet for rent. Anybody out there needs to rent a red carpet?
Yeah, pretty
Sue
much.
Dontell is your contact. Um, Now, how would you describe it? Is there a genre for your films? Do you think you stick to a certain kind of genre, or do you have a broad range of stuff that you make?
Well, most of my films are character driven, and I've done everything. I did a lot of socially relevant stories like drug abuse and spouse abuse and teenage suicide, those kinds of things. But I tried once to make a slasher film because that's what all the guys do, and it ended up being a comedy. That was Mama Cougar.
Oh,
Uh,
hey,
but I did
our best efforts. You never know how people are going to take it.
I did one that was well, not a cartoon, but it was Sassafras and What is Metamorphosis, which was drawings of caterpillars and going into butterflies. And that really got a lot of response from people.
Okay. Well, this one here, you've got spiritual enlightenment. What is this about?
It's about after death communication. And, I always say this, perception's reality, and reality is based upon your personal experiences. So I tend to have like a sixth sense. I mean, not like
Hmm.
John Edward or anybody like that, but I have dreams that come true. I have premonitions and stuff like that. Well, one night I had this very wild experience. Um, and I did a film about it. I actually interviewed Bill Guggenheim, who is the co-author of a best-selling film called Hello from Heaven about after-death experience, and he interviewed hundreds of people for the book. So I interviewed him in my film, and it was about an ex-fiance that we had lived together for like 4 years, and anyhow, long story short, he left. Went back to Oklahoma, and I never saw or heard from him or his family ever again. And decades later, I wake up and he's standing at the foot of my bed.
Wow.
And I'm like thinking, how did he get in here? And then I was like really sleepy, so I kind of like laid down in bed and he was laying next to me and he was holding me in his arms. I could feel him. And I looked at him and he said, "I'm really sorry I hurt you." He said, "I really do love you." Then he looked at me, like deep into my eyes, and he kissed me. I could feel his lips on my lips, which is really bizarre. And then he said, "I came to tell you goodbye." And he disappeared. And I woke up screaming. And I mean, it was so bizarre. It was almost unbelievable. So the next morning, I got up and I opened my computer and I put in his name and his birth date, and his obituary came out. And I just lost it. I screamed. I mean, there's no way I could have known he died if he had not come to me as his spirit. I mean, I know it's bizarre, but I tell you what, when I got through showing that at the MIFF, I had more people walk up to me and want to tell me their experience, because it's one of those things you don't really talk about, because, people that haven't experienced it don't believe it, or maybe they question it. But I know what I saw, and I know there is no way I could have known he died if he had not come to me. So I
Wow.
made this film, Spiritual Enlightenment, about my experience, and I interviewed Bill Guggenheim. And Terry was down giving the awards, and he started saying, "Well, this next award," and it was the Rob Curris Memorial Humanitarian Award.
Hmm.
And he starts talking about how this film made a difference, and da 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 da. And he said, by a filmmaker that's been here every year for 24 years. And I'm like, "What? Is he talking about me?" And sure enough, he was. I was so honored and so surprised. I didn't get to take it home, but it's in the theater with my name on it, which is really cool.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Yeah, Rob Curris, that's a whole nother story. No, I think
Oh, yes, that
I've
was so
teased
sad.
that for maybe another
Yeah,
podcast later on.
he was
But
a great guy.
here's a
Oh,
film I think I remember helping you out with. God, it must be 13, 14 years ago.
yeah, that's
Long
my
time.
mother.
Right.
And when I was a little girl, mom would sing to us and play the guitar. She doesn't do it anymore. But there was this one film, or this one song she sang, Soldier's Last Letter, that I envisioned it as a music video. And so I made a music video with her singing, and she actually won a Crystal Reel Award for it,
Yeah, she's a good
which
singer.
was the part of the
Yeah,
FMPTA. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And then we've got the documentary,
Yes.
the about Story Musgrave. That was a fascinating. This guy was just unbelievable. This guy.
He really is. I sat there for 2 days interviewing him. He had come to talk to he was the featured speaker at a Crystal Reel Award, and I met him there back in 2005. And one day I thought, I want to make a documentary about somebody. And I thought, oh my gosh, he's so interesting. So he lives in Kissimmee, and I went out there and I sat with him for 2 days because I had read the book and I highlighted everything I wanted to question him about. Most fascinating man I've ever met. He flew on 6 of the shuttles, being on each individual one. And his background is phenomenal. I mean, he didn't graduate high school, and
Yeah.
yet he ended up being a neurosurgeon. And applied for the astronaut scientist position and got it over thousands of people.
Yeah, this is the kind of guy you read the story about this guy and you think, what's stopping me from doing what I want to do? Because he went
Yeah.
through a lot to get
Oh, you have no idea. I
that.
could talk for an hour about him.
That, that was great. And then
Yeah.
you talked about sassafras earlier.
Sassafras. Yes,
Uh,
it was a
Right.
very cute. I actually had made it into a book, and then and my friend Luke Andrews had drawn the drawings for it, so I just put them into a timeline and told the story. Actually, my mother was, she did the voiceover for it, and
Oh, okay.
turned out really cool.
Always nice to have family involved.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
have to pay them, you know, or
Hey, what's that?
but you do have to feed them. They will get
Yeah,
grouchy. Yeah.
yeah.
And then of course, I think was this last year you did this one was subjugated.
Subjugated. I believe it was last year.
Yeah.
Um, and I had gone to Africa, and it's really sad what they've done to the elephants for their tusk. And so I made a film about that. I compared the African elephant to the Asian elephant and gave a little background on that and about the laws about killing elephants in Africa.
That's yeah, that's a sad state of
Yeah,
affairs,
yeah.
and because they could be wiped out. You know,
Yes, yes.
they could easily be wiped out. Boy, you're busy. You're all over the place with the kind of films you make. You don't have any
Yeah,
family to live
yeah.
like.
I'm getting ready to do a comedy this month. We'll
Oh,
see if it turns out to be a
okay.
comedy.
All right. But I know you've entered this year. I can't remember what it was. What did you enter this year?
Uh, Heart Hawk or
Okay.
Hawk Heart, Hawk Heart, I think.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and it's kind of follows up with my the film I did last year. I stepped out of my truck and there was this hawk feather laying there. And then just before Valentine's Day, this hawk flew. I mean, we were looking up for eagles, and this hawk flew right next to me and stayed there for a long time. And I took all these pictures of it, and then it flew up to a bare tree and got more pictures. And when I got home and enlarged it, the markings on the feathers looked like hearts.
Ooh.
And it says that hawks are supposed to be very spiritual and bring messages to you, and I thought that was
Mm-hmm.
kind of
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, you make these films back in the day before COVID, because
cool.
I
Yeah.
know that I'm in the process of making a short right now, and it's like I have to get my muscle memory back and also kind of reestablish contacts with people that used to work with, and some of them are
Hmm.
still here, but a lot of them aren't because of reasons I'm not going to go into. I think
Yeah.
we've touched on those. But what's the hardest part, do you think, to make the film? Is it getting everybody together to do
Yeah.
it?
It's getting crew. Yeah. Yeah. That's got to be the hardest thing because a lot of people have left the area or lost interest or want big bucks, and it's hard to get help. But if you need any help, let me know.
Let her know. All right.
Yeah.
Do you pay or you just feed?
I feed.
Okay, there you go.
I'm on Social Security.
Yeah,
Just
okay. You got to do one or the other. You got to do one or the
yeah.
other. All right. We talked about your newest work. All right. Anything you want to add about your projects or anything coming up or?
Well, I've got coming up, the thing I'm trying to do on comedy. I also want to do a film about. I've gotten into antique cars, so I have a little yellow Shea Model A, and I'm wanting to do a film on that. But it's like I need the crew. That's the hard thing. I can get actors, but crew hard to do.
So what would that be? A film about the history of the car?
No, it's actually a story about somebody reminiscing their past in their aunt and the Model T and Model A and what they did with it, where they
Ah,
went, what
okay.
they did,
Okay.
what they learned, and yeah,
So the car would be a figurative and literal vehicle for the film.
absolutely, it would be the star.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Well, I think that's all I have. But you're going to be at the MIFF, which again is going to be October 5th through the 7th in
Yep,
2023 at
yep,
Premier Theaters, the Oaks 10 on
right,
Hibiscus Boulevard in Melbourne, Florida.
yep.
So don't miss it.
I,
Tickets will be available at the on the website for the theater starting in
mhm,
September.
mhm.
I put the link up in the last podcast, and I'll do it again. for the next one. But for right now, that's all we have. All right, Sue, thanks for joining me and sharing with us, and we will see you soon.
I will be there.
All right.
Got my dress already.
All right. Very good. Bye bye. Thanks again.
Okay, bye.